Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios in Robertson Road. Coming up tonight in news. After decades of alleged persecution, Rastafarians claim their rights are still being trampled on. Could web shop winnings be impacted by legalization? And what's the government planning to do about the shabby state of numerous public buildings? We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Kyle Joaquin, and NB12 Weekend starts now. Top of news tonight, a recently released report that takes a look at religious freedom in the Bahamas highlighted concerns expressed by members of one religious minority in particular. The report compiled by the U.S. State Department indicated Rastafarians reported having their religious rights trampled on, even after decades of fighting for equality. Jasmine Brown has the breakdown in this report.
According to the report, while the Rastafarian community makes up only a small percentage of the population, they expressed the most concern. The 2014 Bahamas Religious Freedom Report takes a look at religious freedom and government policy to promote human rights. And here's the breakdown. The report stated that according to the 2010 census, more than 90% of the population professes a religion. Protestant denominations make up 72% of the population. That includes Baptists 35%, Anglicans 15%, Pentecostals 8%, Church of God 5%, Seventh-day Adventists 5%, and Methodists 4%. Roman Catholics make up 14% of the population. Rastafarian leaders expressed concern that some members experienced profiling. Specifically, the report stated Rastafarian leaders stated their members continue to experience police profiling and targeting due to their belief in the religious use of marijuana. They also expressed concern that prison officials cut the dreadlocks of Rastafarian detainees held in short-term custody and that prisoners at the Bahamas Correctional Services were not regularly provided with meals that met their religious dietary requirements. Former Vice Chairman of the House of Rastafari, Ian Moorer, says for too long they have been marginalized.
There's still discrimination that we face. There's still marginalization. I am sure that even in my field, I would have to work harder to get a promotion just because of the locks on my head. I have to prove to people that I deserve a chance, and then prove that I can do what I have to do.
He says it all boils down to respect.
That's definitely it, a lack of respect, especially from officialdom.
But he adds there is some improvement.
Now, I must say that is improving. And so it depends on who you're dealing with now, the type of treatment that you would get. But in general, there's still the potential for us to have poor treatment.
Meantime, the report states that U.S. Embassy representatives are continuing to maintain contact with the Rastafarian population and others to ensure the embassy is aware of any potential concerns for those groups. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
We've all seen the rather poor state some government buildings are in, some in desperate need of a paint job and others with mold, broken fixtures, and damaged roofs. This week, we asked State Minister for Works Arnold Forbes for an explanation as to why so many government buildings are kept in such poor condition. His response, they lack maintenance teams.
I believe that most buildings need an on-site maintenance team so that you don't have to depend on the Ministry of Works when the problem becomes major to go there and fix these problems. If they have small on-team maintenance teams, then they can deal with the small issues before they become large issues. Don't depend on the Ministry of Works to come there when the building is almost falling on top of you, when the building is full of mold, when the building is all the windows or the air conditioning hasn't been working for weeks. These are small issues that if we catch them in time at an early stage, we can ensure that these buildings kept up.
Forbes said before he was promoted to a cabinet minister, he oversaw the building of the new Bahamas Agriculture Industrial Corporation complex, which is solar powered and has its own maintenance team.
I'm sure that if you go and look at that building, it is basically in the same state. And I've been gone from there almost a year because there's a maintenance team in place who are dealing with the small issues so that those small issues do not become big issues. And that's what I believe that we need to do with most government buildings.
At the moment, Forbes said he is unaware of any government building having its own maintenance team aside from the new BAIC building. But he said, aside from the lack of maintenance teams, there is another factor.
We also have to consider that those buildings, especially government buildings, has higher traffic than a regular office would. So you would find that there's more maintenance to do in those buildings than you would a private office. This is a building that the public can access, that the public accesses on a regular basis, and so you would have those issues. But maintenance is the key.
A local psychiatrist is calling on the government to provide psychiatric assistance to minors who witnessed their parents' murder. Dr. David Allen of the civic group People Helping People says he's seen the hurt children experience whenever a parent is murdered right before their eyes. He said if not dealt with immediately, that child becomes scarred and is more likely to wreak havoc on society than do any good.
Because my studies show there's a critical point when a child faces a trauma. Within 3 months, if you get to that child and get help for the child, guess what? The trauma is erased. If the child is not helped, the trauma goes in and is imprinted on the child's heart. And that leads to what we call a post-traumatic reaction. And those kids are the ones I find who go into the evil, violence, destructive tunnel.
According to Dr. Allen, his studies show that most people who try to kill themselves or others experience some sort of childhood trauma via abuse or witnessing the tragic death of a loved one.
I have now 2 or 3 cases of young men, one who saw his father hang himself, one who saw his mother killed in front of him, another who saw his mother killed in front of him, and they themselves say they want to be killers. So much so, their home is so blasted now, I'm on a campaign to set up a small residential center. Because in our outreach program, which reaches 150 kids between 11 and 19, many of those kids don't want to go back home.
There have been more than 135 murders so far this year, with a number of the suspects held in connection with those murders being just teenagers. And just last week, a 17-year-old boy was charged with the murder of Queens College teacher Joyelle McIntosh. Allen says currently the Simpson Penn Center for At-Risk Boys is not cutting it. He says times have changed and much more focus and attention is needed for children considered to be problematic.
The boys and girls is not what we need right now. We need something creative where they can have their sport, their academia, their computers, but people from the community to come and really heal with them and be with them and encourage them. People helping people.
Well, there's no shortage of programs that cater to at-risk young men, but few have been in existence as long as Program Sure. While the young men who are enrolled there are known for their challenges, there are those who chose to meet the challenges head-on. Jasmine Brown has their story in this report.
While the program is known for the at-risk young men who attend, those who mentor the kids say it's more upbeat than its reputation. It's moments like these that depict a much lighter side of Program Sure. The publicly funded alternative school for students with chronic disciplinary problems was established in 1992 in New Providence. Its aim is to offer education to boys who display extreme disruptive behavior. Guidance counselor Ronald Ferguson says while the goal is to rehabilitate every student, the truth is that simply does not happen. Ferguson says during the past 4 years, their success rate has lingered at around 70%.
One of the things we do here is help them counsel, help them to modify their behavior, and when their behavior has been modified, then they are welcome back into the regular schools.
Ferguson says a huge part of that success is helping the young men to realize their goals, even if they are not academically inclined.
I think for boys like these, if academics is not their thing, we need to find another way to help them be productive in society.
And it takes a dedicated educator to work there. One of the only women to teach at the school is language arts and reading teacher Joan Gibson, who admits her job is not always easy.
What I've noticed is once you show the gentleman some love, you can get them to do exactly what is expected of them. It could be challenging some days it's really challenging, but what I've learned is we can't just be down on the boys at all times. You have to teach them and teach them in love, and when they understand that you're in this to help them and they see that they're making some progress, and then it becomes very, very, very easy.
But she says it's a challenge she enjoys.
Oh, I love it. It's ministry for me.
Currently, the school enrolls more than 24 students. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
When NB12 returns, how will the regularization of the web shop industry affect winnings? The details are after this break.